about culture because we do live in the UK, but guess what? We are not.
Look at that,
Period, honey. Period. Okay,
I love this, right?
I spoke with the cerveza and all of that. That was me, right?
You're drinking cervezas.
Yeah.
Hola a todos. Welcome back to another episode of Hermosas Chicas Negras with your hosts, Paula,
Diane,
and Aya.
Your amigas en línea, here to keep you encouraged and accountable on your journey to Spanish conversational fluency.
Come on. So in the last episode, we spoke about our language learning struggles. Listen, if you have not plugged into that episode, you definitely want to plug in because we were being real honest and transparent on that one. Mm-hmm. So check it out. But for this week's episode, we're speaking about becoming fluent and the point of, can we learn it in the UK or whatever country you're based in, or do we need to move to a predominantly Spanish speaking country for a period of time, right? So that is what we have on the table today.
Exciting.
And it's really interesting because we've definitely seen, I don't know if you've seen it on social media, but there's been like a mass exodus almost where people have genuinely been trying to live in a different country or relocate from where they originally are living. They've been moving out the States or moving out the UK or any Western country if you're in there, and trying other countries. Yeah. And I think this was obviously aided by the pandemic where you could kind of work from anywhere. Yeah. And we were really trying. And so I think it has now made people think, okay, let's try, we've been learning this language. Let's go to this language, Spanish speaking country and live there. Yeah. And so we wanted to say, not everybody has relocation money.
That's correct.
That part.
So we just wanted to discuss, do we have to do that? Do we have to say goodbye to our friends and family if we want to really be fluent in this language?
That's really good. I guess I can start with this because I have actually moved abroad. I lived in Spain for 10 months in Madrid. Shout out to all of my fam and my peeps in Madrid. I would say actually, which I don't know that most people would agree with me, but I think while it was helpful for me to be in Madrid, in a Spanish-speaking country, it wasn't imperative to my learning. So my situation was a little bit different because I was teaching English in a school, right? So my work I had to do outside of the staff room. I wasn't actually allowed to speak Spanish. The kids were not allowed to know that I could speak Spanish because I was there to fulfill the English teaching position. Right. So that was one thing. And then I actually lived with a host family, and part of the deal with that host family was to tutor their kids in English. So outside of tutoring, I was able to speak Spanish, especially because one of the children was quite young. But for me, I learned that as much as it was beneficial and it was really, really great in terms of immersion, it didn't take away from the need for me to be intentional about learning the language. Because I will say it was fantastic just to be surrounded by a language so effortlessly. I didn't have to do anything.
Street signs, everything.
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 Even the menu when you go into McDonald's. It was great to be able to see just a complete difference in culture, in the way in which people kind of live their lives, and be immersed in that aspect also of learning Spanish. However, when it came to me speaking, I had to be really intentional about learning still. And I actually took Spanish classes with an academy whilst I was living in Madrid. And I know that that's not a lot of people's story, but I will definitely say, if you are trying to learn a language, it is still imperative that you are intentional about the actions that you take when learning, whether you're in a Spanish-speaking country or a predominantly Spanish-speaking country or not.
To be fair, just to mention, I think we're all Brits here, so we know what it's like, being in the UK. And we're notoriously known, Brits are notoriously known worldwide for going to a country and being I'm gonna be fluent, French, here I come, Spanish, here I come, and going to the country and finding other Brits and literally speaking English.
Girl,
Barcelona is literally Brits are I go every year, give me some Spanish I can speak. No, you go every year, you stay in a resort and you speak to other English speaking people. You actually, like you said, do have to be intentional. And it's actually funny because as soon as people know, I remember going to Madrid, and as soon as people knew I was a Brit just by my accent, they didn't even want to try with the Spanish anymore. So you do have to be intentional. Be like, no, let's go back.
That's such a good point. That is
100%.
such a good point.
And two things. So off the back of what you said, when I went to Barcelona in 2017, like I was staying for some of the days, I stayed in a nice hostel. And I actually met this guy. He was from the UK and he had been there for 3 years. At that time, I had been learning Spanish for a year and my Spanish was like, ¿hablas inglés? Vamos a hablar en inglés, por favor. I couldn't even say that part, but like I was very like, just my Spanish was very rigid. Like it wasn't like that great. And my Spanish was better than his.
Wow.
And he had been there for 3 years. Like he, like even forming conversations, and that just goes to like agree with the point you're saying in terms of like, it takes so much intentionality to do that, you know? And then off the back of intentionality from what you were saying is that, immersion is, so I have never moved to a Spanish speaking country. I've been to Barcelona, Madrid, now Sevilla, Latin America. Here I come soon. We haven't quite. In Jesus' name, we haven't quite got
that Latin American money is long though. The flights aren't cheap.
Yeah, the flights are really expensive.
Listen, we'll get there soon, right? But I haven't been to Latin America yet. But so I've never been like moved to a Spanish speaking country, and honestly, the key is really immersion where you are. So I always say, and we always say that whatever we do in English, how can I find a way to do that in Spanish? So one of the ways that I've practically been able to immerse myself in the Mexican culture, because that is the culture that I've come to learn to love and stuff like that, is I literally, so the process for me was I went on YouTube and I must have typed in youth church or something. Honestly, I don't remember. And I typed in Mexico. Like I just typed in like random, I say random, but like specific keywords based on the type of community I wanted to find. And I did want to find a Christian community because again, it's something that I just already have in English. And I did try to look for Afro beats, but Afrobeats Latin America, like it just,
I feel like reggaeton is the closest. That's not really Afrobeat.
I've come
but
to
I
realize
love that genre.
Like, honestly.
Love that genre.
So I did try to look for that first, because like dance and stuff, but I just wasn't finding it. But found this youth church anyways. Cut a long story short, I realized that they were part of a bigger church. Ended up realizing that through doing research, so I went on their website, the church website, ended up realizing that the church had connect groups, like small groups, like cell groups. I think different people call them. Is that what you call them? Yeah. So like just groups of Christians who come together to discuss the Bible in more detail. And then I applied for their cell group, connect group, and literally I got, I was like, I'm based in the UK, told them a little bit about me, and on a weekly basis we have we have Bible studies. And that for me practically is how I've been able to immerse myself in the culture. I remember when I first started, literalmente no entendaba nada. Like I didn't understand any. They were speaking muy rápido. Like I did.
You have determination, because do you think they'll see me next week? Do you think they will see me next week?
I was so done.
When they ask, why didn't we see Beloved? I didn't know what you said. I was lost.
Like honestly, like it, and you're right. Thank you for that, because it did take a lot of like, I'll stick it through. And that is honestly part of the journey, like just understanding like why I'm even here. So really sticking it through. Then I got to know, and the thing is, by the way, this is a group of the timing, because Mexico is like 7 hours behind, behind of the UK time. I wanted a time that was like afternoon, evening time for me, because the youth group that I wanted to join, it was like 10 p.m. their time, and that would be 3 a.m. like my time, something like that. And I thought that's not sustainable. So this connect group is with a group of older women and even grandmas. And I just had to stick it through. And over time, I've gotten to know them individually. And that is practically one of the ways in which I've been able to immerse myself. And then the second thing really quickly is... this website that I'm a part of, where I found a Spanish coach from, which is called Neuro Language Coach, because as I was working towards like my Spanish speaking goal, which I've mentioned here before about, having the workshop that I did, I needed a coach, not a tutor, because delivering the whole process of like learning how to deliver a workshop fluently in Spanish, I needed a coach for that. So those are the two ways that I've really been able to immerse myself.
Yeah.
It's taken so much intentionality.
Yeah.
It's taken so much, like in the group chat, like how many times did I, like and I'm like, I want to give up on this. Like it's been so intentional because I'm not surrounded in it, my day-to-day life, but
yeah, no, that's a really good point, Ayo, because I think I was going to ask, like, for people that are like, okay, well, I'm not relocating anytime soon, or I don't even have the money for the holidays because that's also expensive. What do I do to get the culture and be immersed? And I think it's really interesting about just intentionally trying to find that. I think for me, it was a mixture of, initially when I first started, I was on all the apps, you know, all the apps, specifically Tandem, which is it connects you with native speakers in other countries. Normally they're trying to learn English or whatever your language is, and you're speaking to them in Spanish, and so you'd be FaceTiming them or chatting to them. And weirdly enough, like you talked about time zones, it would be like the middle of the night or like random time. I will never forget, I spoke to this guy in Colombia, and he was like 19 and in school, and it was like the end of the day or something for me, and I was talking to him, and I could hear like people speaking in the background. And I remember this. I was like, after talking to him, I was like, Javier, or whatever his name was, Jorge, I don't remember what his name was. I was like, are you with people? He was like, oh yeah, I'm just in school, I'm in class. And I was like, bro, why are you FaceTiming me in class? Like, listen, face your books, you know? 100%. But like, people are so eager to learn English, and they're very, very giving of their time. And they're just like, oh, you know, I'll speak whenever, I'll be free whenever. And they really have like notifications on and stuff like that. So that was a good app. It was very overwhelming, so I only used it for a very short period of time. Specifically, I've told the girls, it's like, there aren't really black people on that app. So when you are a black Brit or a black person who speaks English, as soon as you put your thing to say online, you're like flooded with messages. And I was just very overwhelmed by that. So yeah, I had to be like, this is cute, bye. But that's a really good way. Like, and I'm saying, like, you don't have to do it forever. Like, that was a very short period of time. I think I did it for like a month or so, and then I was done. But it was very useful. And then second of all, when we started going back into the office, I realized a lot of my colleagues are actually Spanish. So, or Spanish speaking.
When you say you realized, as in when you first started, you didn't realize that they were Spanish, or?
I was working from home most of the time because we were in a pandemic. I was acting like she wasn't there. I'm like, we were all at home.
No, because I just wanted to clarify. Like,
okay, fair. Yeah. So, sorry, when I started my role, it was the current job I'm in, January 2021. So we were still in the thick of it, and like I was still working my house, and the team I was working with, there was only one other person I knew who spoke Spanish, but everyone else, you know, we were just working remotely. I never saw them. Once I went back into the office and I met the wider company, there were people who like, they would just be speaking and passing to like their other Spanish speaking colleagues, and I'd be like, oh, I speak Spanish and stuff like that. So that was another way to kind of just be immersed in speaking to other people who had literally come from Spain or other Spanish speaking countries and were willing to speak to me on a daily basis, or however often I go into the office. So there are ways to kind of immerse yourself while staying in your country.
And then sorry, go ahead.
Let's say, what about you, Diane?
As far as immersion when it comes to being in the UK, well, for us in the UK, I would say, like yourself, I was a hardcore app user at the beginning, but I used Hello Talk, and I still pretty much use Hello Talk because you're able to kind of dictate and kind of toggle with exactly who you want to be speaking to, which was really, really helpful for me at the time, because I was very specific in who I was looking for, because I wanted to be comfortable. Do you know what I mean? Like, and not comfortable as in I didn't want to push myself, but comfortable as in I wanted to be able to feel like I could make mistakes without you correcting me every second and all of that kind of stuff. So I was definitely a big user of Hello Talk. But I would say if you're looking to actually meet people like face to face, one thing that I did use was Meetup. I think it's called meetup.com is the website, and they have an app as well. That is more specifically if you want to be surrounded by other language learners rather than native speakers, in my experience anyway. So there are multiple places that have like actual physical meetups for language learners. So it was just a case of putting in like Spanish meetup, and there was loads and loads of different like events, classes, etc. So I think most of the time it's not a case of there aren't immersion opportunities available as much as we don't know where to look to find them. So I would definitely say meetup.com was really, really fantastic for that, as far as getting me expanding my knowledge of events and of places to go where I could find other people in the same predicament as me. And then now I would say just signing up for like, for example, for Latino Life. We lived our best life at Latino Life, and by His grace, they will see us here again this year.
And summer, this summer, it will be summering.
100%, because we outside.
We outside.
We outside.
That was like the one break we got out. Like, wow. But this is like, now we're out. Like.
Yeah, for real. So signing up to events, festivals, etc., where you know that people who you're looking for are going to be at. When I tell, no, guys, we need to put up like a vlog of Latino Life last year, because we were enjoying. The enjoyment was so real. And I think, at least for me, that was the first time that I was completely surrounded by other Latinos and people, native speakers of Spanish. And it was just, honestly, I was living. I was really, really, really
bailar, everything was just great.
Música, everything. Yeah. So I would definitely say, if there are any like festivals and even concerts. I was gonna go to a Camilo concert. Literally, he has a concert coming up, and I wanted to sign up, but I'm literally going away the next day, and I said it's not wise. So be smart. But if there are opportunities like that, concerts, festivals, etc., where
even restaurants, like whenever we're planning like hanging out, we're like, what restaurant can we go
100%, 100%. So I think it is just another example of like doing the things that you would usually do, going to events, going to things that you know that you enjoy, cooking classes, whatever the case may be, but doing it either in the language, like looking for language specific, like language focused event, or where you know that it's going to be surrounding the culture of that language. So if you're going to go for a cooking class, look for patatas bravas, which are Spanish, it's a Spanish like dish,
like
right?
Chips.
Or like a tapas cooking class, something like that. Do you know what I mean?
I went for one on my birthday.
Did you?
Yeah, but I was expecting.
Like
that was the one that I put in a group chat. And
Yeah,
you know what? Like,
no, because it was giving.
I was like, that
Caro,
was just a birthday.
okay?
But
it was giving.
Yeah.
Mascara. I said, I whom?
Who? Yeah, but
stuff like that. Looking for actual events and stuff that would allow you to either be immersed in the culture or immersed in the language, and if you're lucky, both.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's good.
And you know what? Following off what you just said, actually, you just reminded me about Eventbrite. Because something else that I've done,
so
Eventbrite, and like
Yes.
I remember at one point I was just so overwhelmed that I just was like, no, Ayo, because that was the time where I was working towards like doing the workshop, and I was like, Ayo, I know you want to immerse yourself, but babe, like you're just immersing yourself in too much, right? But I went on Eventbrite, and because at the time it was during the pandemic, and I must have typed in free events, and then I did it by location based on like my interest. And I think maybe at the time I did like a public speaking or maybe business or something. And then, oh my goodness, there were so many free workshops by Spanish, and like everything was in Spanish. So that's another great way. And then also, if you want to do something, like say for example, like using Eventbrite again, like la comida, for example, you wouldn't put food Spanish, literally just put the Spanish phrase.
That's
then it's
really
like,
good.
because there's that whole, because immersion, the whole purpose of it is like you're immersing yourself as though you were a native speaker.
That's
and
really
then progress.
good.
Oh, thank you.
That's really good.
And like over time, you're genuinely going to start to understand, because when I was joining the church, it was the Bible study group, I didn't put church for English speakers. No. I just literally went on their website, and it was for a native speaker. So it's also that mindset shift that now I am a native speaker, I must immerse myself like a native speaker.
That's so good.
I even wanted
so good.
That's really good. That's really, really good. I even wanted to go on about dialects, because when we first started HCN, we had our little flags. It was all really cute, and I was doing Spain Spanish, and it was like, yes, and everything. And then
I was gonna say that yes was so weak.
it was intentionally weak, because I think I just picked Spain Spanish because it felt like the most economic, as in like the wisest one to start with. And then, of late, so it's been 2 years, and of late, I've just been really, really, really interested in like Colombia as a country, Medellin, Cartagena.
Come on with that gin.
Can I land?
I just love, we have to celebrate ourselves,
It's true. 100%.
But yeah, there's just been loads of things coming out of Colombia with the music, with the shows, with like the food, with the yeah, just even like YouTubers that I watch and people that vlog and stuff that have gone to Colombia, that have been like, should I change my dialect? You know, because, and everyone, like, I don't know if you guys hear this, but widely known, the Spanish in Colombia is easy to understand.
See,
Like,
yeah, if you learn dialect, that would
it would
probably
be easy
be
to understand.
advice that you
Yeah.
get.
It'd be easy to understand. And so I've just been thinking, like, do I want to do which one? And even because I went to Madrid a couple months ago and I loved Madrid. Like, do you know how much I was shouting about Madrid? If you have me on Instagram, I've been like doing a whole Madrid series called #Paula in Madrid.
Yeah.
Like, I loved Madrid. And bear in mind, the weather wasn't that great. Like, it was like, there was things to tell me not to love it, but the vibe of the city was amazing. And so I was like, I like that. And if I were to live somewhere, I would live in Madrid. But now I'm loving Colombia. And I think the reason I bring this point up is, you know, choosing a dialect doesn't mean that you necessarily have to relocate to that country.
That's
Or
right.
that can be
Really
the
good.
only thing you look and see and
Yeah,
understand.
that's really good.
It's definitely widely encouraged that you do explore different dialects, but also that you don't see it as a prison of the type of Spanish to follow.
See?
And I really did, especially with the Spanish from Spain, because especially Spanish people from Spain, they love to think of them as the original Spanish, which, you know, whatever, but it's just a bit... It's a bit limiting. Like, I think I want to travel to Colombia. I don't have the Colombian money right now. Soon come.
I love what you said right now.
But, you know, I know that if I were to relocate to somewhere, it's not likely to be Colombia, but to travel. And I think that's a good enough reason to still want to change my dialect or want to enjoy it, just to be immersed in that culture. So I just wondered if you ladies have any experience in maybe choosing a dialect and then changing, or if you've ever felt like dialect was a bit of a prison in terms of the type of Spanish you follow.
So good. You guys know, like, these girls, they know. I've had so much internal conflict regarding dialect.
No conflict?
No, literally.
It's like,
So
Should
much
I
internal.
stay? Should I go?
Literally. And I think because I did start off in Madrid, so my journey was a bit different in that I started off learning Spanish subconsciously and like it wasn't intentional from DR, Dominican Republic. I was literally about to say it in Spanish. República Dominicana.
Sorry, I just love
República Dominicana.
Come on.
Okay. So I started off learning Spanish from there just because that was the resources that I had. A lot of the speakers were from Dominican Republic.
Right.
And then I obviously moved to Spain, Madrid, Spain. So it was a whole thing of, I'm going to be here for quite a while. It would make sense for me to be able to communicate like the people that I'm surrounded by. So I kind of made the decision like, okay, cool. I'm going to switch the dialect. And whilst I was in Spain, I spoke as a madrileña, which is a person from Madrid, right? I spoke with the like cerveza and all of that. That was me, right?
You're drinking cervezas?
Yeah. All of it was me, you know. I adopted even like just the words, the word changes. I'm so done.
Not the end of the bitch. Go to Spain down a couple of minutes.
Listen, all of the culture, all of it.
You said immersion.
I took it all.
Emerge.
Literally everything, right? But I even when I was there, I would talk with my tutor at the time all the time and be like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. But I kind of felt obligated. So when I moved back to the UK now, I was like, it's not by force that I learn like this dialect anymore. It's actually not by force.
Be free.
But I've spent so much time doing it. Would it be a betrayal to all that I've learned for me to switch this dialect? So as you said, like, as far as looking at dialect as a prison, I definitely did. I just thought, you have one, just stick to it.
Yeah.
But I knew that I didn't, and long term, I didn't see myself living in Spain again, long term. So I was like, you know what? I love the culture. I love the dialect. I love the way it sounds. I'm moving back to DR, and that's just what I did. So I moved back to learning the Dominican dialect, we can call it. And then again, after that, I was like, okay, cool. Like, I don't really do a lot of like the slang. And I know that Dominican Republic is very much known for their slang. A lot of people speak a lot of slang when it comes to Dominican Republic. And I said, that's just not, my thing was this. If I don't speak like that in English, I don't personally want to speak like that in Spanish.
Why am I a completely different person in Spanish?
100%. So I remember we had a whole conversation. I was like, guys, I think I'm going to change my dialect again. I don't know if I should do this or not. So I started learning some like the dialect that Puerto Ricans speak. And in the end, long story short, I ended up going back to my original beloved DR. However, I think in actually learning the Puerto Rican dialect, I found myself feeling like, oh, actually, it's not by force that the only dialect I know is DR. If I want to learn some words that Boricua say, I can learn it.
That's so
If I want to learn some words that Colombians say, I can learn it. And if anything, that will help me when I'm traveling. So it's actually not by force. Of course, DR is my main dialect. However, if I can have conversations with other people from other places, using words and phrases that they use, what's the harm?
Come on.
What is the actual harm?
Love
So
it.
I would definitely say, as far as looking at it as a prison, whilst we do recommend learning what dialects you enjoy and would like to replicate, it's also not by force that you only have one.
That's true.
Come on.
It's
now.
not by force you only have one.
Come
No,
on
because
now.
I'm even thinking like, so for our US viewers and listeners who could easily travel to like PR or DR quite easily, knowing words that they speak would be really useful, even if you are using Spanish from Spain. Whereas for us, knowing certain words of Spanish from Spain is super useful, because we could do a weekend trip to Madrid. We couldn't quite do a weekend trip to Puerto Rico. You know what I mean? So just having those words for that reason. And I think
That's
when I
really
did go
good.
to Madrid and certain words are spoken and I wasn't used to that word, that reminded me like, okay, next time I'll just have that word just in case. And I think because I watch a lot of Colombian telenovelas, I know those words in Colombian Spanish. So it's just give or take, I suppose, with a lot of things.
Definitely.
Really good.
I also, when I first started learning Spanish, I started with Spain Spanish, because again, we're based in the UK. So it was just like, oh, European Spanish, here we go. But one of the things that was, look at me with my favorite word,
Always.
Sorry.
Always.
Like, one of the things that was really difficult for me was understanding the th. So I'm a visual learner, and one of the things that I came to realize is like, yes, I understand gracias, but say for example, a word like hacer would be, so HACER, it would be like hacer. Now, because that word is a new word for me, whenever the word C was used, my mind and ear like combination, I was just like, I'm struggling to understand hacer being hacer, and that was very confusing for me. So I remember at the time, because I was learning at the time with my partner, and like I would try and explain this frustration, but I guess at the time, because it was all so new, I didn't really have vocabulary for it. So at first I was sticking out the European Spanish. I was like, no, can we do this? Can we do this? And then what did I start using? What's that app called? Oh, Rosetta Stone. So at first, when we started on the journey in the early days, we were both using Rosetta Stone together. But then I just realized, I was just like, because similar to you, I was just like, I felt like I was in a prison doing this thing, because I'm just like, yo, like, it's just not really sitting with me. And then I started to, explore like Latino America. And I was like, okay. Like, and then I just realized that I could actually listen and understand what they're saying. So I actually started learning, if I'm not mistaken, Venezuelan Spanish.
Okay. A spanner in the works.
Yeah. I just realized now that we're saying this, I haven't shared this with both of you. Yeah. So I had a tutor, Mariana, literally for a period of like 7 months. We were just literally doing Venezuelan Spanish, and I just found it a lot easier to just communicate with her. I found her on italki, and and then afterwards I'm trying to think how I actually shifted into Mexican Spanish. I'm pretty sure maybe through watching YouTube videos over time progressively, I was just listening to the dialects that I could understand, because maybe when I was looking at traveling to Venezuela, like she was trying to move to the US, and I guess maybe she was just talking to me about some of the struggles and stuff, and because I knew I really wanted to go to visit like a Latin American country, I think probably that was what shifted my mindset. I don't really remember the thought process step by step, but then I somehow discovered Mexico. And then I was just, again, looking at resources that were available. I wasn't really seeing much Venezuelan, but then I would see more Mexican. And again, when I'm thinking about immersion, I just, hopped over to the Mexican side. And like over time, I've just had a love for it. Like I literally, when they see me in Mexico, oh my goodness, it's gonna be amazing. But that's
it's so interesting you say that, because I'm like, actually that was part of my thought process as well. Like it was a mixture of what's the easiest to like speak and understand, but mainly it was like, what resources can I find? And I knew that European Spanish, there was always going to be resources. I used to watch a lot of Argentinian telenovelas.
Oh my goodness.
And I wanted to pick Argentinian Spanish because it's actually it's closer to Spain
European.
Spanish than because they do a lot of the like, especially with the S and the Z and the stuff like that. So I was starting to get into that, and then
That's how they speak.
See, sorry, pardon me. By the way, if we've got any Argentinas here, we love you.
Yeah,
we love you.
¿Cómo está? ¿Cómo está? Like, what are you saying, bruh? Like, we love it. It's great. So I was like going to pick that next. And then it was just like, okay, I could switch between the two. But I think with me looking at like Latin American Spanish that I could pick up, it was the fact that there was already loads of Colombian telenovelas that I was watching already. Like all my favorite ones were Colombian, like all Argentinian. And then there was also loads of like vlogs of people going to Colombia. So there was loads of content already there. And I think in my head, I'm very much a like commercial thinker. It's like, what's the most like wise to do because it's widely spoken, employable. Yeah. Like, I love the idea because I remember I was like, oh, should I pick something fun like, you know, like Paraguay or Ecuador? It's like, what am I going to do with that? Like, I'm going to meet one Ecuadorian in the country. Like, we're in the UK, you know, like, there's really like, it's going to be really difficult. Whereas Spain Spanish, there's going to be Spanish speakers that are from Spain, from Madrid, I met one of my colleagues is from Valencia. I've never met someone from Valencia before. Things like that. Mexicans, you're gonna find them. Like, but then I think I just had to be wise about like picking somewhere super obscure and then struggling to find resources for that place.
Yeah, definitely.
Think about that as well.
No, that's 100%.
And like, even just to clarify, like, because I know that in one of the Spanish communities that I'm in for English, people learn English speakers learning Spanish. When we speak about, because this can also be like a, you know, topic of, do I need to pick a dialect? Do I not? Honestly, it's more so for a point of reference and focus.
Yes.
Because like, because it's very, like, Spanish is one language and the differences between different dialects are very like small if we think about it in the grand scheme of things. So it's just slang words, it's just different phrases occasionally, but in terms of the grammar, it's all the same. But the reason why picking a dialect helps us focus is that learning a new language already is an overwhelming thing. Yeah. As humans, sometimes we can be so indecisive. Sometimes we can just go from one thing to another. So it's almost just like, just to clarify in terms of what we're saying, it's more so just like, just that piece on focus. So I just wanted to encourage anyone who might be listening to this thinking, okay, cool, but do I need to pick a dialect? Do I not? Because if you're hopping from one thing to another, that might be beneficial for you, but at the same time, it could also be really overwhelming. So it's just something to think about and why we specifically speak about dialects. And as you can see, none of us have been prisoned to one specific thing. Like, it's trial and error. You get to know more about yourself, look at resources based on your country, all of that.
Definitely.
So,
I mean, this really nicely links on to the next episode.
Come on now.
Which is about
why learn Spanish. So to be fair, it's going to be a bit of a twist, right?
Yeah.
Help me out here. So it's like reasons why we learn Spanish. And then we're also going to be speaking about culture because we do live in the UK, but guess what? We are not.
Look at that
like we
period, honey. Period. Okay,
I love this, right? So yes, we've been born and bred in the UK, but we are not in terms of like our origin, right? We are from different places, which we'll get more into in the next episode. But yeah, so that's what our next episode is going to be about. We definitely want you to plug into that. What else have we got to say for the people then?
Our key takeaways from this episode.
I was literally just about to say.
I didn't want to forget this one because you're not in a prison to your dialect of Spanish. Spanish is beautiful. You shouldn't feel like you are stuck or should be stuck in one thing. Yeah, so that's my takeaway.
That's
I love
really
that.
Good.
I would say that's a good. What is my takeaway? To be honest, I'm going to piggyback off what you said. Like, I just
I cannot with these two. Genuinely,
this is so funny because you said that. This is so random. And then
you're
going
Diane, jump in. What's your
takeaway? This one, I'm not involved.
I'm so glad that you caught that because I was like, is that going to be offensive? But you caught it. Thank you for catching it.
Did you just call me a pig?
I'm so done.
We're back.
done.
We're coming back.
As far as my takeaway, I would say if you don't have move abroad money, it's actually okay.
That's
Yeah.
right.
It's really
That's
okay.
right.
You can create immersive experiences wherever you are.
That's good.
Yeah.
Actually, do you know, I'm going to do another piggyback actually. And I'm going to say that immersion and intentionality really is the key with all of this. Like, you can be in the country that you feel. Oh my goodness. Okay, sorry. My takeaway is that discipline is a transferable skill, because sometimes we be like, oh, if only I had this, then I'll do this. Chances are, if you're not doing it where you already are, then you're probably not going to do it when you get to where it is that you think you want to get to. So
That's amazing.
good.
Yeah.
I love
really
that for
good.
us.
Wow.
I love it.
I love that for us.
So
Genuinely.
definitely tune into the next episode. In terms of all of the social medias and stuff, where can they find us?
Yes, you can find us at Hermosas Chicas Negras on Instagram, wherever you watch your podcast or listen to your podcast, YouTube, Spotify, all that good stuff. Make sure to leave a 5-star rating, preferably on Spotify, and give us a like and a comment on YouTube. We love reading the comments.
Yes,
honestly, we appreciate you all. Stay in touch and sign up to our email mailing list.
Yes.
The link will be down below and also on our Instagram page as well.
Yeah. And just to clarify, with the email mailing list, we at this point in time, we're not sending weekly newsletters, but it's honestly just for us to keep in contact with you. If we do have cool things we're talking about, if we do have events coming up, if we have Instagram lives, we want to be able to communicate that with you directly in your inbox. So that is why we encourage you to join us in the community.
Sure.
But anything else you got, Deanne?
I would just say, if there are any questions that you wanted to submit, whether on Instagram, whether on YouTube, whatever the case may be, or even on Facebook, because we do have a Facebook page, I would also suggest that you use the hashtag HCN podcast, because we understand that Hermosas Chicas Negras is a really long word.
Larguísimo, no?
It's a really long word. So if you use the hashtag HCN podcast to submit any questions that you have, any tips that you would like, or any episodes that you want to see from us, and if you use the hashtag language learning struggles to let us know of any struggles that you are currently having, so we can relate and hopefully give you some tips.
See,
Hopefully.
yes. Well, that's all for this week's episode.
Ciao.